So let's look at Impressionism. So let's start. I'm going to start with the most famous one. This is also the most famous artist, Impressionist artist, but it's also where Impressionism gets its name, this painting here. So this is a painting by the French artist Monet, M-O-N-E-T, Monet. And this is his painting, Impression Sunrise. That's the title he gave it. A lot of the titles that I've given you for paintings are titles that are just have been applied to paintings because you don't really know the title. But artists are definitely are full control of their output right now, and so the title is definitely his. Of course, his was in French. This is the translation. So Impression Sunrise, and so the title I think gives us a clue as to how to look at this thing. So he is essentially saying, I am painting the moment and how I'm feeling about it, how I'm interpreting it. Okay, as the artist right there in that moment, it's his impression. This is the impression of the sunrise to me, the artist. Okay, and that's what the Impressionists were really interested in. They were interested in capturing this fleeting moment that was there just for a moment and then gone. And because most of our lives, our experience deals with how light affects things. That's the primary focus of Impressionism is light. And light, of course, is changing all the time. Like last time we met, outside was bright sunshine, the light was really kind of blinding, and now outside, everything's very muted, right? It's the same scene that looks radically different because the light's different. And so Impressionism was really interested in that change, that constant change. And so here he was sitting up, looking at the sun rising above this body of water. Now, if you've ever experienced a sunrise or a sunset, you realize that at that moment it happens really fast. Of course, the sun's moving at the same speed, but you don't notice it when it's up here. But when it's right on the edge, it's going really fast. So he's trying to capture this moment that is happening very quickly. And he's not using a camera, he's using paint. And so if you're painting this thing that's happening and changing constantly in front of you, you have to paint really quickly. And so because he's painting quickly, he is not bothering to blend anything. So the marks that he's making, you can see. Right? So the evidence in the making is very apparent. And that is a characteristic of most Impressionism, is that you can see exactly how it was made because the marks have not been blended away. And this one was painted really quickly, I think you can tell, because the image is quite simplified. But it's the color that he's really, really interested in. That strange light when the sun is just coming up. The colors don't quite make sense because, there's the light is really low. And if you've ever been outside, of course, it's really hard to see colors because you need light to see color. Okay? All right. So this is, I said, this is the artwork where Impressionism gets its name. So when he first exhibited this painting, the critics, they hated it because they were used to this really complete looking stuff. So they see this and they think, oh, good God, it's his impression. They sort of made fun of Impressionism, because of these painters that just flapping the paint on there, giving us their garbage. It's not what art's supposed to be. When we look at it, we're like, well, it looks like a painting to us, But keep in mind, of course, this is painted 1873, so this is, well over 100 years ago, and so people didn't understand this right away. Now, this kind of painting is hanging in every doctor's office in the world, right? All right, so this is Impression Sunrise by Monet. Now, let me show you some more Monet. These I'm sure you will be familiar with. This is a little later. This is obviously I got off a poster because it even says Monet down here. So this is a water lilies painting. You've probably seen water lily paintings. If you haven't seen them in person, you've definitely seen posters where you see them on big bags, and stuff like that. So here he's painting, well, the title's called Water Lilies, but really he's not painting water lilies. What is he painting? He's painting small. He's painting a reflection on the water, right? We're seeing some water lilies floating in there, but really it's like the sky and the trees and all that's stuff is reflection, all that's light, right? So he's really interested in light. Now, this one is painted over a period of time. This one is as quickly painted as the Impression Sunrise. I think you can tell that, right? It seems a little slower. The marks are, but he's still using that kind of looser brushwork because if you think about light and it changes, constantly flickering, moving, changing. If he were to blend everything together, it would freeze that moment. It would be like a photograph. So it would not look like it could ever change. So by making it a little looser, it looks like it could change. And I think that's important to understand when you're looking at Impressionism. It's about capturing a fleeting moment. And part of that capturing the fleeting moment is to reveal that it is in fact fleeting. It will change. So when you smooth something out, you blend it together, you make really hard edges, you make it look solid, and you make it look like it's never going to change. All right, so let me show you a series of paintings by Monet that really illustrate this interest in light. These are 3 paintings of the same subject, which the Impressionists did quite a bit. All right, so these are paintings of the cathedral. What period is this cathedral from? Gothic, very good, it's Gothic. So this is Rouen Cathedral. So there's one. There's another one. There's another one. They look very different from each other. Even though he's sitting in the same spot, looking at the same cathedral. It's all light. It's different times of day, different times of the year. The light changes radically. So you can have something that's beautiful, kind of glowing and warm looking, and then this looks kind of cold, and then this looks also cold, but lots of sun. So this is probably like the winter time. It feels like the winter, right? This feels like the summer. And this feels like, I don't know, it's a cloudy day or something, so it's much more fluid. So it's radically different from each other, even though it's the same subject. Okay. All right. So those are all Monet. Let me show you a friend of his. This is Renoir. So Renoir and Monet were close friends, and they would paint with each other a lot. Monet was primarily interested in landscape and light and buildings and things like that. Renoir was really interested in people, and so he would choose outdoor scenes where there would be people. So this is one of his paintings called The Luncheon of the Boating Party. And we know it's a boating party because of the way the men are dressed. You can see there are these kind of special hats and sleeveless shirts because they're going to be doing rowing. And so they're having this luncheon, having fun. Do what? No, it's not. It's 1850. Yeah, that date's not right at all. Okay, so you can see Monet has a different style. The work looks very different, but you can see the brushwork is still apparent. It's not blended away. In fact, I think Monet's work always looks kind of soft, like everything's made out of cotton. It's a scene, like an everyday scene, which is very much like realism. Remember, realism was about capturing the everyday. Well, Impressionism is the same. They just approach it in a different way, stylistically. And so here we have, it's like a snapshot of people hanging out. This woman has a dog at the table, which is so gross. But yeah, the dog is sitting on the table. Whatever. They're French. Just joking. If you're French, I'm just joking. You're not French. All right. So this is another Monet. Renoir. I really like this one. This one is called Moulin de la Galette, which is a place. Anybody know what Moulin means? M-O-U-L-I-N? Moulin? Huh? A street? No, Ruby Street. Yeah. So, you've heard the Moulin Rouge, right? Moulin Rouge. Anybody seen that movie? Moulin Rouge. So what does Moulin mean? What does Moulin Rouge mean? For those of you who've seen the movie. Yeah, something red. Rouge is red. What was red in the movie? Huh?
Dress?
No. Windmill. Means red windmill. Okay, so the Moulin de la Galette is the windmill of the Galette. I don't know what Galette means. But they're places, they're like nightclubs, except it's not a night during the day, like day clubs. So if you go to Paris, you can find the Moulin de la Galette, or you can find the Moulin Rouge. Now, find the Moulin de la Galette, that's interesting. The Moulin Rouge is not interesting, it's a tourist trap. So just go out in front, take a picture, and then keep going. Okay? So it's a place where people want to hang out, listen to music, and drink. And so that's what we see. We see this kind of image of people dancing and drinking, talking to each other. And you really, once you kind of figure out the scene, you start to realize that the painting is quite a bit about light. Because he's paid really close attention to how the light is passing through the trees. See the polka dots all in the sky in the foreground? That's all the light going through the trees. So you get kind of polka dots everything. And then I think the further we get into the scene with the dancing, the brushwork gets a little looser, so you get a sense of them moving through space. So that's really all it's about. It's about capturing this moment. Now, he probably went to the Moulin de Galette a lot to paint this. He probably did the initial drawing to get the scene in place, and then would paint there regularly to get the painting. Now, the Impressionists did something that was not common until this period. They would actually paint on location. They would go to the landscape they want to paint. They would set up their easel, their paints, and they would paint there. That's called plein air painting. Now, artists did not do that. There's several reasons why. The main reason is that before now, artists had to mix their own paint. So you didn't just go to the art store and buy your paint. You had to get all your chemicals, your pigments, grind them up, and add the oil or whatever binder you're using, and make your own paint. So you only made as much as you needed for that project. Okay? So artists worked in their studios. So if they needed to see something, they would either bring it in the studio and set it up, or they would take lots of preliminary drawings and then bring that to the studio and get the painting done. Okay? Or they would use photographs, but photography has just been invented. And so before that, they didn't use photographs, obviously. So Impressionists are painting on location, plein air painting. And they're doing this because of an invention. And this invention was tubes for paint. So someone got the idea of making these lead tubes that the artist could fill. So they would still make their own paint at this point. So they'd grind their own paint, and then they would make it, and they'd fill the tubes. They'd roll the tubes up, and they become transportable. So now the artist can take all the colors with them. It seems really simple, but it wasn't until now that they had that. So that allowed them to paint plein air. And we get to see at least kind of landscape paintings very true to, at least true to light, I should say. All right, so this is Moulin de la Galette by Renoir, R-E-N-O-I-R. Both are French, of course, and both are Impressionism. So we are in the mid to late 1800s at this point. Okay. Let's look at one more painter, and this is Degas. Degas is a little different